Capital Crescent Trail. The Capital Crescent Trail CCT is a 4-mile 33 km long, shared-use rail trail that runs from Georgetown in Washington, D.C. to Bethesda, Maryland. An extension of the trail from Bethesda to Silver Spring, along a route formerly known as the Georgetown Branch Trail, is currently being constructed as part of the Purple Line Light Rail project. The Capital Crescent Trail is one of the most heavily used rail trails in the United States and is used by more than 1 million walkers, joggers, bikers, skateboarders, and rollerbladers each year. In 2005, it was named one of the 21 great places that show how transportation can enliven a community by the Project for Public Spaces. History. The trail runs on the abandoned right-of-way of the Georgetown branch of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. The branch was partially built in 1892 and completed in 1910. It served Potomac Electric Power Company (PEPCO), the Washington Mill, and federal government buildings, but with the changing use of Georgetown's waterfront became obsolete. The &O was purchased by the Chessie system in 1973. In 1983, the railroad notified the Interstate Commerce Commission (ICC) that the Georgetown branch would be the subject of an abandonment application. Within a year, the Washington Area Bicyclist Association contacted the Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission about turning it into a trail. The idea of using the right-of-way as a trail dated back to the early 1970s, as it was mentioned as an existing proposal in the 1975 Bethesda Central Business District Sector Plan. In January 1986, WABA completed a feasibility study of the trail, and the next month advocates chose the name Capital Crescent Trail. Because of structural problems with a bridge in Montgomery County, the last train on the line ran in June 1985. At that time, the only customers were the General Services Administration GSA heating plant at 29th and K Streets and a small building supply company in Bethesda. 3 months later, Chessie indicated that they would ask the Interstate Commerce Commission (ICC) for permission to abandon the line. Chessie claimed they were losing money on the line, that it detracted from the scenery around the Washington Harbor condominiums, of which Chessie was a part owner. Local governments and the National Park Service began trying to acquire the land for a trail and transit corridor as early as 1985, when the Interstate Commerce Commission informed them that the National Trails System Act of 1968 could not be used to force Chessie to turn the land over. Problems with the line were exacerbated after the Potomac River flood in November undermined about 75 feet of roadbed near Fletcher's Boathouse. Before the abandonment, Chessie made plans to sell the section in the Palisades to a developer and offered to sell it for $15 million. Chessie, by then part of the CSX Corporation, asked for permission to abandon the line in April 1986. The abandonment was completed in April 1988 and most of the track removed by the mid-1990s. Advocates for turning the railroad into a trail, including the Greater Bethesda Chevy Chase Coalition and the newly formed Coalition for the Capital Crescent Trail, began to lobby local and federal officials to do so, putting together a concept plan in 1988. Despite opposition from neighbors and those who wanted the right-of-way for mass transit, an excursion train, or other development, they were able to convince the Montgomery County government, along with a coalition of developers and government agencies, to purchase the right-of-way from the D.C. line to Silver Spring. Montgomery County purchased the right-of-way on December 16, 1988, 4 days after the ICC approved the purchase and transfer under the Trails System Act. CSX sold the Maryland section of the line for $10.5 million. The following year, the county voted to build a trolley and bike trail along the Bethesda Silver Spring section of the right-of-way. In December 1988, Kingdon Good, Jr. purchased an option to buy the railroad right-of-way after failing to buy it outright for the purpose of restarting the railroad. However, once Montgomery County made a deal to buy their section of the trail, Good placed the 3 miles 6.9 km section in the District of Columbia, between Georgetown and the D.C./Maryland boundary, into a trust until the National Park Service could purchase it outright, $5 million in 1990. The D.C. section then became a component of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park. In 1991, advocates John Duggar and Henry Bartholomew helped secure federal Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act funding to develop the Maryland portion of the trail. The funding also paid for the D.C. portion and the rehabilitation of the Arizona Avenue trestle. With the right-of-way and funding secured, work on the trail began in the early 1990s with 4 separate sections. Before any of the formal work began, volunteers built a wooden deck over the Arizona Avenue Railroad Bridge in 1990. The groundbreaking for the trail was held on September 30, 1992, when Montgomery County leaders symbolically pried loose one of the railroad ties. Work then began on the first section between Bethesda Avenue and Little Falls Parkway. That section, paid for by Montgomery County Departments of Transportation and Parks and businessmen John Aurisman and Tom Miller, was cleared by Pepco in exchange for easement considerations elsewhere and to reimburse the community after residents complained about power line work on nearby Arlington Road. It was the first section to open when the ribbon was cut on March 30, 1994. Work on the portion in the district. That same year, Montgomery County, with financial assistance from Maryland and the federal government and planning from the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, built the section from Little Falls Parkway to MacArthur Boulevard. Removal of the tracks was done in the spring, paving in the summer, and the section was completed by the end of the year. In late 1994/early 1995, Arlington County built the section of the trail near Dale-Carlia Reservoir from MacArthur to the district line because they were doing unrelated work on pipelines in the area. In late 1995, the concrete deck of the Arizona Avenue trestle was poured, replacing the wooden deck built 5 years earlier. In June 1996, the Arizona Avenue trestle was opened, and in November the trail bridge over River Road followed. The last piece of the trail to be completed, the Dale-Carlia Bridge, includes a component of a bridge which formerly took the Georgetown Branch over the Washington and Great Falls Electric Railway, and it was designed to go over a road connecting 2 parts of the Washington Aqueduct Reservation. Although most track removal was completed a few years earlier, the first 3 miles of the line from Silver Spring to Bethesda remained tracked until 1996, the rails not being removed until the summer of that year, and in December of that year, dedication ceremonies formally opened the River Road Bridge, the Dale-Carlia Bridge, and the full Capital Crescent Trail. An unpaved trail connection to Norton Street, NW, and a staircase connection to Potomac Avenue, NW, were built after 1997 and before 2003. A plaza along River Road, named for Neil Potter, was opened on November 3, 2018. The plaza was first envisioned by architecture students at the Catholic University of America in 2006 and 2007. Their professor, Iris Miller, called the plaza, which features benches, stone-sitting walls, a curving pathway, a red metal pergola, bike racks, a repair station, a display with trail information, and a plaque to honor Potter, a tribute to persistence. A second, 1,300-square-foot public plaza near Bethesda and Woodmont Avenues, Aurisman Plaza, was constructed in 2019 as part of an agreement with an adjacent car dealership that had built a garage that encroached on the trail. As part of the deal, they also agreed to move their driveway farther from the trail's Bethesda Avenue entrance, to install decorative screening around the expanded garage to create a more appealing facade facing the trail, and to widen about a quarter-mile section of the trail about 2 feet to 16 feet. The section from Bethesda to Silver Spring, meanwhile, was delayed due to continued debate over the proposed trolley. It later opened as the Georgetown Branch Interim Trail. That section will be constructed as part of the ongoing work on the Purple Line. Georgetown Branch Interim Trail. The section of the right-of-way from Bethesda to Silver Spring opened later than the section from Bethesda to Georgetown did, primarily because of a debate over what to do with it and a series of lawsuits. A year after the right-of-way was purchased, Gov. William Donald Schieffer offered $70 million to build a trolley line on it, and later a combined transit/trail corridor was added to the county's master plan. This led to several contentious battles between those who supported transit and those who did not, with those who supported a trail left in the middle. There were also lawsuits over the ownership of the line with adjacent homeowners, the Chevy Chase Land Company, and Columbia Country Club, all suing the county. The county won all the suits and pursued construction of an interim trail while transit options were considered. On May 17, 1997, the Georgetown Branch Interim Trail, from the east side of the Air Rights Tunnel in Bethesda to Stewart Avenue in Silver Spring, opened. On August 15, 1998, the Air Rights Tunnel in Bethesda, built in 1910, was opened to trail traffic, connecting the interim and permanent sections. In June 2000, Montgomery County committed $1.3 million to repair the Rock Creek Trestle, which had been damaged by arson and fire, most notably in 1967, and open it for trail use. The trestle was dedicated for trail use on May 31, 2003. Montgomery County began studying transit options for the corridor as early as 1986 and continued to study, litigate, and debate it until work began in 2017. A trolley between Bethesda and Silver Spring went through several iterations, including the Georgetown Branch Light Rail Transit, the Inner Purple Line, the Bi-County Transitway, and finally the Purple Line, a light rail train from Bethesda to New Carrollton, MD. Each iteration included plans to pave a parallel extension of the trail between Bethesda and Silver Spring and using the existing Air Rights Tunnel. However, in 2011, MTA announced that the cost of building the extended trail would be $103 million, much more than the previously estimated $65 million. Half of the cost would result from widening the Air Rights Tunnel to include the trail with the train. Instead, the county made plans for a second trail tunnel, parallel to the transit tunnel, built, in part, under a new Air Rights building. On September 5, 2017, the Georgetown branch was officially closed so that work could begin on the Purple Line light rail. In conjunction with the Purple Line project, construction crews are extending the Capital Crescent Trail as a paved 12-foot wide off-road shared-use path from Bethesda to Silver Spring. The Purple Line project, which was to be completed in 2022 when the trail was closed, has experienced many delays, and as of 2019, was to be completed in 2023, but after a contract dispute led to the project managers walking off the job, the state took over and claimed it could delay completion for years. The trail could be opened before the trains run, but a tunnel through Bethesda will not be completed until 2026. Description: the currently closed section of the trail started at Littonsville Junction, about 1 mile 1. 6 km west of downtown Silver Spring. It went west on an unpaved, crushed stone surface passing over Rock Creek on a trestle to Chevy Chase and then to Bethesda through the 800-foot-long Air Rights Tunnel. It was closed in September 2017 for construction of the Purple Line and the extension of the trail to Silver Spring. It will reopen around 2022 as a paved trail from Bethesda to Silver Spring. The currently paved portion of the trail begins in downtown Bethesda, where the trail begins to turn south. It follows the Little Falls branch to the Potomac River and the district line. It goes over the River Road Bridge and past the site of Fort Sumner, a Civil War-era fort. It then moves through the Dale-Carlia area, traveling under the Washington Aqueduct conduit at the Dale-Carlia Tunnel, past the Dale-Carlia Reservoir, and through the grounds of the Dale-Carlia Treatment Plant over the Dale-Carlia Bridge. Crossing into Washington, D.C., it then turns southeast, dropping down from the Palisades neighborhood over the C&O Canal on the Arizona Avenue Railway Bridge and down to the banks of the Potomac. It then runs between the Potomac and the C&O Canal, past Fletcher's Boathouse and the Foundry Branch Tunnel, into Georgetown to its terminus at the west end of Water Street and W.